Following the final day of minicamp, it was supposed to be a slow day round here in Texans news. Definitely wasn't that, and was probably one of the toughest days DeMeco Ryans has had as head coach of the Texans. Let's break it all down.
Good luck. Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't stop. Won't stop.
It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. I'm Landry Locker. Today was supposed to be one of those, what are we talking about days? Texans, they broke minicamp yesterday. Today was supposed to be one of those days. Okay, what are we going to talk about? Are we going to talk about the guys that got the most to prove? Are we going to talk about the stock up, stock down? Are we going to talk about what are we going to talk about? And I'll be damned if we don't wake up today and we get the news that Jimmie Ward has been arrested. And as the day went on, it became more and more of an intense story. Third-degree felony, allegedly choked his fiance. He got out on bond, and not a great day for DeMeco Ryans, not a great day for the Houston Texans, and not a great day for Jimmie Ward. So what does it all mean? We know, obviously, you got to let stuff play out. I've covered stuff like this for a long, long time. This is one of those things that you kind of have to balance when it comes to speaking on these things. But the thing that I find interesting about this, and it's been one of my favorite talking points since Jimmie Ward arrived, and I've interviewed him about it before in long form on the radio. I've interviewed him about it in short form in the locker room. I've asked DeMeco about the dynamic, but one of my favorite stories and dynamics when it came to the Texans is the dynamic between Jimmie Ward and DeMeco Ryans. And you've probably heard me say this a couple of times when talking about the Texans' decision to give Jimmie Ward the extension last year, which wasn't very popular, I would say, among the fan base. I'm not going to generalize, but it didn't seem like it was the most popular decision that was made by the fan base or among the fan base by the organization. And I think a lot of it had to do with the dynamic between Jimmie Ward and DeMeco Ryans and everything they've been through. We all have people in life that whenever you sit down and talk, it's an easy conversation because you can point to different things that y'all went through together. And a lot of times those things they're different because you both were in you transitioned into different roles, you went through different forms of adversity, and you saw it out together and you ended up finding stuff out. And that's what DeMeco Ryans and Jimmie Ward have. And I got to think that when Jimmie Ward got out of jail, and we're focusing more on the human side of this, I got to think he at some point called DeMeco Ryans, and I got to think that was an emotional phone call for both of them, because DeMeco Ryans has talked about Jimmie Ward and what a great person he is. And just not too long ago, I asked DeMeco Ryans about Jimmie Ward, the football player, and he had a lot of good things to say about Jimmie Ward as he has his entire tenure. And I just kind of want to go through, we'll talk about the current state of the safety position. We'll talk about how the Texans are going to handle this, how they will handle this, how they should handle this. But let's just kind of go through the dynamic of DeMeco Ryans and Jimmie Ward just to kind of get a grasp of how much they've gone through together and the different roles that they've played over the course of their football careers. And you got to go all the way back to 2017. And in 2017, Jimmie Ward was with the 49ers, and he was kind of one of the guys that he endured a lot of the criticism from the fan base. He was drafted in 2014, and by the time 2017 came around, there was a lot of frustration. He got there on the back end of Harbaugh, but in 2017, DeMeco Ryans accepted his first coaching job, and he was a quality control guy in San Francisco. That same year, Jimmie Ward, he was going through a change himself. They moved him to free safety, which was his third position change in 4 seasons. So in 4 seasons, Jimmie Ward was going through his third position change. DeMeco Ryans was quality control. We know that Jimmie Ward has had trouble staying on the field. Injuries kind of a part of things early and recently in his career. And in 2017, Jimmie Ward fractured his forearm in DeMeco Ryans' first year as coach. So that right there is some adversity right there. DeMeco trying to figure out how to coach. Jimmie Ward changed positions for the third time, fractures his forearm. He only plays 17 games. 2018, the next season, DeMeco Ryans promoted. So there's a promotion. There's a new role for DeMeco Ryans. He's promoted to linebacker coach. Jimmie Ward plays. He breaks his forearm. So he fractures his forearm in 2017, 2018. He breaks his forearm and plays only 9 games. And there's probably questions at that point about what the future is of Jimmie Ward, because that was the final year of his contract. They picked up the 5th-year option when he agreed to move to free safety. That ends, and Jimmie Ward breaks his forearm and plays only 9 games. So the question, there's the status of Jimmie Ward not very clear there in 2018 as DeMeco Ryans is a linebacker coach. Then we go to 2019. DeMeco Ryans is not only a linebacker coach, he's a linebacker coach for Robert Saleh, and he's looked at as one of the high risers. I remember when Robert Saleh spoke about DeMeco Ryans at the coaching summit and basically said that he could see him being a head coach sooner rather than later, and it's inevitable he's going to be a defensive coordinator. And in 2019, DeMeco Ryans is a linebacker coach. Jimmie Ward signs a 1-year prove-it deal with the 49ers. So this is more pressure. This is more adversity to go through for a football player. And in the Super Bowl loss, so they go all the way to the Super Bowl. In the Super Bowl loss, Jimmie Ward has 11 tackles. So we've already seen 2 injuries, 2 contract extensions, a position change, a promotion by DeMeco Ryans, and Jimmie Ward now trying to play for another contract. 2020, DeMeco Ryans still the linebacker coach. Inevitable that he's going to be a defensive coordinator. He returns to the San Francisco 49ers, and Jimmie Ward, I'll be damned, 2019, he plays his way into getting a 3-year deal with the San Francisco 49ers. So he hangs around. They go through the 2020 season, disappointing one in San Francisco, but in 2021, when Robert Saleh leaves with the Jets, DeMeco Ryans, another promotion. So this is another promotion for DeMeco. He's now the defensive coordinator, and Jimmie Ward is one of his leaders and one of his starting players on his defense that ends up losing in the NFC title. So they go to they battle together there in 2021. Then we go to 2022. Yet another change in the football life of DeMeco Ryans and Jimmie Ward, as DeMeco still the defensive coordinator. A lot of momentum as a potential head coach, which he would become a year later with the Texans. Jimmie Ward starts the season on IR, and when he returns, DeMeco moves him back to nickel. So Jimmie Ward, safety. DeMeco Ryans has him moved to nickel because Tashawn Gibson was playing pretty good. They end up making a run that year all the way to the Super Bowl and losing in the Super Bowl. Then we go to 2023. The Texans named DeMeco Ryans the head coach, and the first thing he does is he brings Jimmie Ward with him. And the promise for those two, among those two, that was always kind of one of my favorite running jokes, was that Jimmie was only going to be a safety. You're not playing me at nickel. You're not moving me to nickel like you did the previous year. And Jimmie ended up getting hurt there and then playing his way back in 2024. So we're dealing with a handful of injuries, handful of promotions, 2 different stops, a captain multiple times on his football team. And then last year in 2024, Ward starts at safety. He moves to nickel again, despite the fact that they had that deal because he had that much respect for DeMeco. Then he breaks his foot, but he gets an extension in season. So Jimmie Ward with DeMeco in the same building as him has gotten 4 contracts, 2 destinations, multiple position changes, and a complete bond. And I'm just bringing this up to show what today had to have been like for DeMeco Ryans. The day after you break up minicamp, the guy that you've trusted the most with the opportunity that you got, this happens. This is probably one of the tougher days that DeMeco Ryans has had as a head coach. This was Jimmie Ward when he actually moved back to nickel this previous year. You can see him kind of joking because it was, I asked him, and it's me and Stutz, SNL 4 o'clock. I asked him, man, you didn't want to play nickel. Now all of a sudden you're playing nickel. This is what he said.
Ended up playing some of the reps that it feels like Petrie would have had. I know you've done that before in San Francisco. How did you feel like that, man? Are you prepared to do that a little bit more if he's gone for a while?
I just gotta do my 111. So whatever the coaches ask for me to try to help this team win, that's what I'm gonna do. I think it went well. I still think about some of the plays that I had, and I'm telling the guys to reset and all that. So, but I did good enough. But no, you know what? Take that back. I didn't do well enough. We lost.
You and DeMeco's kind of had a joke about playing nickel, though. Did you feel a little different after going out there and having some success in that role, kind of second half?
Man,
There's still safety.
I'm whatever Miko want me to play. You know, he's the head ball coach, so he's going
in that role, kind of.
You can tell this was their thing, and you can just tell. Man, I moved back to nickel.
Second
man,
half. There's still safety.
I'm whatever Miko want me to play. You know, he's the head ball coach, so he's gonna put me in position to make plays, and I just gotta make them.
All right, so there you go. So and I mean that's just kind of speaks to the dynamic where you arrive in Houston. It's the clear deal and the clear bit and the clear joke that got a lot of attention here. Despite being really good at nickel. And by the way, that move, he was the best nickel in the league. He was the 96th best player in the NFL 100 at that nickel spot. So it was actually a good thing that DeMeco did. It ended up looking like a decent decision, but it was a sensitive topic and he ended up doing it. So that's just kind of the dynamic that they have. I asked DeMeco 3 weeks ago about Jimmie Ward's role, and this is what he said about the change.
Jimmie's doing fine. Jimmie's on the road to recovery as well. He's doing fine. He's out of his boot now. He's starting to get back into running a little bit, so he's in a good spot. And Jimmie is a great football player. I love Jimmie. I love how he plays the game. And again, same whenever Jimmie is ready. I know Jimmie can help our football team win games. We saw him make game-changing plays for us, big-time plays in big moments. And whenever he's out there, he'll do it. He's a football player. That's what I love about him. He's played multiple spots in the defense. So I'm excited to see just whenever he's ready, it doesn't hurt to have a lot of good safeties on your team.
All right, so there you go. Probably not going to be the case now. Was a controversial thing to begin with. Didn't know if he was going to be a piece of this thing, but that's where it's at and where it's at with DeMeco. On the chat, HDAV Traveler, shout out to you, my friends. Appreciate you for coming through.
You ain't never hate. Swarm.
Good evening to you. But the safety position, though, with the Texans is still pretty deep. It's not incredibly deep, but it's pretty deep. I do wonder what this means for Jalen Reed, who's one of the more intriguing rookies, the rookie out of Penn State, who's been doing Petrie things in practice. Do wonder what it means for him. You already have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Thank God that you made CJ Gardner-Johnson, excuse me. Thank goodness that you made that move. And you have Jalen Petrie doing all the nickel stuff. So PFF actually had the Texans with 3 of the top 32 safeties last year. They love Jimmie Ward. I know the fan base might not love the way that Jimmie Ward has performed lately, but they love him. He's been, I think, a top 15 safety 5 of the last 6 seasons, top 20, something like that. And he was their 19th ranked safety last year. Now they kind of jack up defensive back rankings, but that's just kind of where they had Jimmie Ward at. I don't know what they like so much about him. I like him too, but top 15 the last 5, okay. I think they like guys that perform well on the inside. They've kind of shown that, but that's where that is. How will the Texans handle this? Your guess is as good as mine. This is I don't want to say perfect time. There's never a perfect time for anything like this to happen. But as far as letting the process play out, which I think is something that should be respected. I know there's some people who say believe all whatever. I don't believe all anything. I don't believe all family members. So I believe all blank. That doesn't really apply for me. I think if he did what he's accused of, obviously he shouldn't play on this team, and he should have to face the consequences that are necessary. But I'm not going to sit here and assume. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know. I just see the police report, and we'll see how it goes. But as far as letting it play out and letting this thing shape up, it's probably an ideal time if you're going to have to deal with something like this, because you have about 40 plus days till training camp starts. You don't have to meet with the media. There's no DeMeco Ryans is not going and meeting, and you can kind of let stuff shape up and see how the whole thing goes. So I don't know how they're going to handle this in the past. 4 or 5 years ago, 6, 7 before that. He's probably released by now. I mean, this is not anything that they're even going to look into and play out, but I think you have to factor in everything we just laid out with DeMeco Ryans and how much he knows Jimmie Ward, how he feels about Jimmie Ward. He's probably gonna let this play out. Do I think Jimmie Ward plays again as the Texans? I think that's gonna be a really tough thing to do. Now, I also will be honest that if this was one of your star players, I think maybe you're a little bit more lenient, or not lenient, but you're kind of going to let it play out a little bit more. But as much as DeMeco Ryans likes Jimmie Ward, you're dealing with a guy that's going into his 12th year, a guy who can't stay on the field, a guy who plays a position where there's a lot of depth, and a guy who really probably isn't as valuable to this team as, one of your star guys. So some would say that shouldn't matter. It does. Like if with the Deshaun Watson drama, the fact that he was worth what he was for the Texans, whether he wanted to be here or not, the fact that you were able to get that haul, you kept Deshaun Watson around. If that would have happened to, I don't know, name somebody, Tegan Quinteriano, yeah, they're probably not going to sit around and wait for that. So that is a factor, fair or not. I think that's a way of the world. I don't think it's like too crazy to think about. But DeMeco Ryans has a soft spot for Jimmie Ward, and I'm sure this is probably tough for him, and that was probably a tough conversation that they had. Does that mean that I'm power ranking DeMeco Ryans and Jimmie Ward as the main victims in this thing, depending on what happened? No. It just means that I cover the Houston Texans. This is a story that I've been talking about, and this is human. Like, I'm sure most people have known someone that you thought you knew, you thought was a great dude or gal or whatever, and they do something and you're like, damn, man, like you're kind of taken aback by it. You're like, man, I never thought that could possibly happen. And there's also been instances where someone's accused of doing something and then you find out other things. So that's kind of the balance of this, where you're doing a show every night, multiple shows throughout the day, and you kind of let the whole thing play out. There's also been instances, let's be honest, where stuff like this has happened with NFL players, and then, hey, 2-3 months goes by and that guy's on the football field and he's saying, I'm going to let the legal process play out. Coach is saying, I'm going to let the legal process play out, and he's playing. I don't envision that happening, but it very possibly could, depending on how the Texans handle this. I don't know how they handle these situations. I mean, we talked about this Monday. You're talking about an organization that worked out Damon Arnett that Monday. Damon Arnett has a hell of a track record. I mean, he's been in multiple legal things. He flashing the gun at the troll, saying I'll straight kill you and all that, and then getting pulled over as recent as a year ago. Texans don't work that guy out 5, 6, 7, 20 years ago. That doesn't happen. You don't even think about that. You don't even think about it. But they're doing that. So who knows what they do with Jimmie Ward? He's before this, quite frankly. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm not going to be one of his character witnesses or anything like that. But if you would have asked me, what's up with Jimmie Ward, I would have said he's one of the nicer guys in the locker room, just on the surface. I mean, the last time that I saw Jimmie Ward in the locker room was, I think it was during the playoffs while he was rehabbing, and where the media kind of sits in the middle waiting for players to talk. He made it a point to go around and shake every media member's hand, including me. So that was just kind of the Jimmie Ward. He's always kind of entertaining, pretty candid. I know he wrote the children's book. It seemed like he was a pretty frequent volunteer at the charity stuff. Could be wrong about that. Obviously a captain twice. So we'll see how the whole thing plays out. This is why you got to maintain a certain level of professionalism when it comes to covering these guys and these athletes. Like, they don't want to be boys with me. I don't want to be boys with them. There's a professional relationship to it, but you never know. And that you never know works on both sides. That's not an indictment on what he did or didn't do. You never know is a two-way thing. Like, it doesn't, you never know until you know. So we'll see how the Texans handle this. We'll see how DeMeco handles this. And I would imagine there'll probably be a little bit of calmness before they make an abrupt decision. But who knows? Maybe they want to make some sort of statement. I'm sure there's a lot of opinions here. DeMeco, Jimmie, all that. There was the video of him getting released. Man, he could have waited to take the shirt off when he got in the car. Maybe he didn't know that he was being recorded. But he's walking out the jail, and my man takes the shirt off right when he walks. Yeah, here I go. This is on Insta. I'll share it if y'all haven't seen it. This is from Fox 26. They were the one who got it. This is the one that I saw. So this is the only footage that they had. Come on, Jimmie, get in the car before you take the shirt off, man. And then there he goes. You're about to drive through a puddle. Puddle season. There you go. So yeah, he could have waited to take the shirt off, Jimmie. That's what we got. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Jimmie Ward thing. There's a lot. There's a lot to unpack there. And he was already one of the more polarizing guys on the squad. That only intensifies regardless of the result. Unfortunately for him, and anyone else. And it might not be unfortunate, but we're unfortunate for people who maybe get proven innocent after the fact. Once it's in the Google search for these public figures, it's there. So we'll see how it goes. Living in Magnolia, though, is crazy. I think some of these guys live far and then they have like apartments or something close to the facility. Living in Magnolia and going to Houston, I don't think that's a common thing. That's nuts for Jimmie Ward. That's absolutely insane. I don't know how you do all that. Don't have a clue how that goes. Someone says, Bull Boy says, dude, my boy sent me Jimmy's mugshot today at 6 a.m. He checks the Montgomery jail roster every morning. Why? Why? I would love to know why you do that. Was he just checks it to see? Is he in the media or what? What's he doing? He's just checking the jail roster. That's crazy, man. That's a crazy hobby right there. Andrew is right. Anywhere in Houston is an hour nowadays. It's pathetic, man. What they've done with these roads is a disgrace. Whoever wrote out these logistics, embarrassing, man. Pathetic. You could be right on that. Man, looking at the jail roster, that's wild for sure. Eric's 27 asked about the hockey game. I put him in timeout. There's what these fake hockey fans are driving me nuts. Like you didn't watch all the playoffs. The other day someone said to me, "Man, there's nothing like playoff hockey." I'm like, "Oh, who's in the Stanley Cup?" And they said Florida and Edmonton, and I was like, "Oh yeah, who did Florida beat to get there?" And they couldn't name it. And who did Edmonton beat? They could name like the last team. It's like, you don't like playoff hockey. Why? It's almost like one of those catchphrases like you see in politics where it happens on both sides, but they have like the catchphrase that for some reason everybody's using, and it's not like a common catchphrase. That's kind of how some sports fans are with hockey. Nothing better than playoff hockey. Ain't nothing better than playoff hockey. Okay. Don't know where that came from. Don't know how that got there, but that's just crazy stuff. Guys live all over. I don't know where Will Anderson lives. Maybe he lives in the Woodlands. I don't know. Don't. Houston couldn't support hockey. They couldn't support hockey. It wouldn't work. You got to be really good. I don't think it would work. He always knows if someone's in jail. Yeah, why is he looking at the daily roster? That's crazy. Black Eighth Element with the zinger of the night. Damn, even his image is injury prone. Too soon, man. Too soon. HDAV Traveler says, don't worry, Houston. The roads in the Austin area are just as bad. Believe me, I know. Man, I don't know, man. I mean, I know you're there now. I don't know how it can get worse. Arthur says Reed moves up the depth chart with Jimmie getting cut. Do you think we see Smith and Reed get more PT than expected this year? Reed, perhaps. He's clearly doing the same things in practice that Jalen Petrie does. So he's a nickelback. You know, Jimmie Ward's he's just a perfect Swiss Army DB utility guy. I actually loved him in this role, assuming he could stay healthy, which is perhaps a big assumption. But I think Reed he's a true nickel guy and maybe an extreme emergency safety. But yeah, I would say Reed probably becomes the backup in the Petrie role. Smith, you're talking about Jalen Smith? I don't know if they look at him in that role. I know that there was talk about him lining up inside. I want to see how they handle him in camp. I think he's probably way more of a corner than he is that role. but you never know. DeMeco Ryans kind of has a little bit of a willingness to adjust and an ability. I should call it an ability, a willingness and ability to adjust whenever something happens, whenever someone gets hurt or they're not available. So maybe they figure that out, but I think they had that role. And here's the other thing about the Jimmie Ward thing that makes this, I don't want to say not a big deal, because I was looking forward to seeing him in this role, but they did not function, they being the Texans, they did not function in a manner in which Jimmie Ward was really impacting what they were doing in the offseason. They still traded for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They still drafted Jalen Reed. They still paid Jalen Petrie. And they still brought back some other guys in that secondary. So they were almost functioning as if Jimmie Ward was icing on the cake, or they already knew he was going to be on the team, but they didn't know how much of a role he was going to be able to play. So it's not like let's say last year that I used this example earlier today on SNL with Dameon Pierce. They functioned like they didn't give a damn about the backup running back position. And they were just set with Dameon Pierce being the backup running back. And then you didn't have any depth when you figured out that he wasn't capable of that. And you tried the Cam Akers thing, and that just didn't really work out for whatever reason. They didn't really do that with Jimmie Ward. Like, he was not, they weren't functioning as if there was a spot. They knew he would be on the squad, so there was that, but they didn't function as if they were counting on it. So that, from a safety position, your safety's still good. You still have C.J. Gardner-Johnson, 13th ranked PFF safety last year, coming off one of the best years of his career. You still have Kalen Bullock. And then you got Petrie. You got Reed, who I think is really good in that role. They like MJ Stewart. Good God. They like MJ Stewart. And there's that. But from like a deeper standpoint, Jimmie Ward was a guy who was one of DeMeco's guys. He's kind of a culture guy. He's kind of a trendsetter guy. I don't know what the value is of that. They seem to have a lot of guys willing to step up in that area. And it may have happened anyways, even if this stuff never happened with Jimmie Ward. But I don't know what the value is for that for DeMeco Ryans. So we'll see how that whole thing goes. Appreciate everyone for rolling through. It's gonna be a short one, not as short as it would have been. The Jimmie Ward element, the human side of this. You got to think this was a tough day for DeMeco, and we'll see how the Texans handle it. Probably going to be a little bit of calm before the storm. They've said that they don't have anything else left to say on the matter. So there's that. Subscribe, like, ride along. Always remember, we'll be live tomorrow after the NBA Finals game. Do watch basketball. Not a fake hockey fan, though. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Appreciate y'all for coming through.
Won't stop. Yeah, we top two and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days. Opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too.